Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone. Happy Wednesday. Guess what, guys? I'm going to a rainy football practice today. I can't wait. By the time you hear this, if you're listening to the podcast version of this, the OTA will probably have happened. And then you'll be like, why aren't you talking about that? I have to do that tomorrow. This show's still a radio show. So it's all a little confusing. It's not as up to date timing on a day like today, but be patient. We'll have a lot to say about it tomorrow for sure.
You and I both have rainy activities today. What we've got to do.
Yeah, you're going to go see Metallica, huh? At
Yeah.
Northwest Stadium.
Yes. I've never seen
Okay.
them before. That's kind of one of those bands where I feel like I just got to see them once just to say I saw them. They still have it from what I see from videos and stuff. So
Oh, yeah.
gonna go out there tonight.
Yeah, one of the contenders in the Derby and Preakness was Sandman. He was named after Metallica.
Yes.
So they have crossed over into everything. Are you going to wear your Marcus Vick jersey tonight from Virginia Tech?
You think I own a Marcus Vick jersey? That's absurd. Like that's a little much.
Why don't you you could wear a Beamer Virginia Tech jersey. That'd be cool. You should do that tonight.
I think the only Tech jersey I have left right now is I think I have a Tyrod Taylor jersey somewhere. I think that's the only one that I've got left. So
I think I missed the boat on them. Like I haven't never seen them either. If I would go see them, I think going to Lane Stadium to see them actually would have been fun. When they did that recently, that actually would have been fun because of the Enter Sandman Virginia Tech thing. I think that would have been really fun. Or Yankee Stadium and Mo Rivera comes out. Like that would be fun. But now they're not high on my list. I'm pissed that I missed the AC/DC one a couple of weeks ago. I kind of overlooked it because I didn't think the lead singer was back. I didn't realize till after the fact that he was back. And so I should have gone to AC/DC and I missed that one. But I've at least seen them before, albeit 30 years ago. But I've actually seen them before.
It's a couple of factors here. I wanted to go to Lane to go to Blacksburg, but it was on a Wednesday night, dude. And if you've been to Blacksburg, it's not easy to get to. It's like what, a 4-6 hour drive, something like that.
Yeah,
and
that's a whole day long night stay. You got to stay in a hotel. That's not a come home. Yeah,
it was hard to justify when I knew they were coming to Landover. So I was just kind of like, I'm gonna save all the time, the money, and energy, and just see them here. And that's where I kind of landed on it. And as I said, looking at all videos and stuff, because I didn't buy these when they went on sale, I wanted to see if they kind of still had it. They do, and I'm good enough to just see them one time and see them tonight.
Let's see if I saw AP and DQ did pictures from the AC/DC concert.
Right.
So I wonder, I guess I'm going to have to ask them, are you going to see Metallica tonight? We'll have to see if they're going to go do that one tonight. Double dip on the concert going.
Yeah, I was going to say they've got work to do this time around, though. Like that was kind of like an off night. So I don't know. I don't know who's going to show up for this one.
Yeah, OTAs are today. And I've been very popular this week. I did an interview with Ben Standig for his podcast, Last Man Standig. I'm going to this is a mistake, but I'm not that these people are doing this a mistake. I'm doing one of the fan podcasts today and it's going to be a mistake because the other fans are going to hear me on it and then they're all going to ask me to do it. It's the reason why I don't do them very often isn't because I don't like these people or wouldn't want to do some of them. It's I know the cascade that comes if I do one. So I'm making a mistake today because I'm going to go do that. And not that I don't like these people that do this pod. I do, but I just know what the after effect is going to be. I'm going on with Jack down in Va Beach, baby. Yeah, we played some Metallica coming into that segment. So I'm very popular this week. So we got OTAs today. And it's a long practice. We're going to watch an hour and a half inside, obviously, because of the weather. And I was talking to Ben about this. And, they negotiated out contact. So it's not a real practice. You're not going to see them hit each other. It's none of that. But there are a couple things that I think that are worth watching, which is, can you get a glimpse of where some competition will be? Can you get a glimpse of what the players look like on their return? Sure. Can you get a glimpse of where some competition would be? And I'm going through the roster. And I think the reason why they have become immediate contenders is you can't pick spots where you could foresee a lot of competition this summer. Safety could, does Tyler Owens back up what was kind of a surprising offseason, good summer into a job? And now that Jeremy Chin's gone, could he find his way onto the field more? Is that Possible, sure. Like, does that position look like it could use or has an opportunity for some younger players to make their name? Sure. Name the other spots. Like, good luck. Name the other spots. If I were to tell you, like, there's going to be a few like names of people you don't know that are going to pop up, where would that be? So this is like, today is more about the gang's back together. Let's check them out. Let me go see what Debo looks like. Let's see if Jaden does look like the Hulk, as the pictures would suggest that he looks like, and just get a glimpse of everybody, because I don't see, or I don't foresee, a lot of real competition for roster spots this summer.
Yeah, I was going to say, to me, it's like, let me see what the glimpse of that offensive line looks like right out of the gate without Cosme. Like, that's one that I'm circling. I'm with you. There's really not a lot of competition where I'm kind of circled of, being concerned at this point. I think there's one little factor here, too, is Terry McLaurin there, today. Like,
yes, I agree. That could be newsworthy. I saw a report that he wasn't at one of these things last week, and then people just linked that to a contract, and the Commanders didn't say anything about it. And remember, he's a human being. He might not have been there because he just couldn't be there, right?
Yeah.
There was like the agent or him have never said a word about anything publicly. And he did make a comment recently saying they are talking. So it's not like this isn't, moving in that direction. He is under contract from his last extension. So this doesn't feel acrimonious, but it's true. It would be newsworthy if he's not there today. That's for sure.
Right. So that's just saying, and I'm like, that's not even a huge storyline to me. He could also not be there and it not be anything, right? If he's not there. So yeah, that's another thing that I'm, paying attention to. And then I just want to see kind of what like the offense is looking like in terms of, top to bottom starters. That's the only thing I'm really looking at for OTAs.
Yeah, I think like, there are a couple of veteran pass catching tight ends that are here. I think that went under the radar. But then I look at the roster of the tight ends coming back and you go, short of an injury, I don't know how any of them would make the team. As they've built the depth on the offensive line. And I'm assuming, I think Brandon Coleman's an interesting one today. Does he line up at guard? I think that's going to be an interesting one today to watch. Does he line up at right guard because Cosby's not going to be back at the start of training camp? Does he line up at left guard? Like, I think there are some glimpses of things you could see, but even in that unit, because of the depth built all of a sudden with the drafting of Connerly, the addition of Tunsil, there isn't a lot of competition there either. I think we know we have a good sense of who the starting five will eventually be, and we have a really good sense of who the primary backups are. There's just not a lot of room for competition. I had heard this younger player, Julian Good-Jones, had made a lot of strides from last season to this season, but at best, he's a backup guard for them, right? Like, so we're really talking the bottom of the roster and guys that they like that, like, it's like Tyler Owens could play a little bit if they had to. We'll have to see. I'm also intrigued a little bit by Jordan McGee, but again, he's not supplanting Bobby Wagner this year. Just could he play a little bit more, which I think would be the intention moving forward, because he's supposed to be someone that they're very high on that could succeed Bobby Wagner. So we'll see. So we're just getting glimpses of all this stuff today. All right. Meantime, the other story is this about them, and it is proof positive that winning cures literally everything. Okay, everything. I didn't see this article until later in the day, but I did find it interesting. And I'll give kudos to the Washington Post. You still have a lot of reach, because I was wearing, if you watched on YouTube yesterday, I was wearing a Commanders shirt. And after we taped the show, I went out and I got a coffee. And I walked into this Dunkin' Donuts, and a complete stranger, stopped me and said to me, I still don't like the name. Okay. Just like out of the blue, just said that to me. And
knowing who you were, or just because of the W?
It's always for me 50-50. Like, okay. My kids and wife find this really unusual and funny. It's 50-50 that when I do this, it's sometimes people know me, but because we're on the radio, I always have to explain this. Because we're on the radio, people think they just kind of know you. Right. So they will come up to you and talk to you as if you know them too, which, again, I'm not complaining about this. I actually like that about our job, that people feel so comfortable with you because they've heard you for years. They act like they know you and can walk right up to you and just start a conversation as if you're friends. So this is 50-50. This person never intimated he knew who I was, but it's hard to believe that he would go up to any just stranger and say it. So it's one or the other.
Fair.
But he didn't mention sometimes he'll say my name. He didn't say my name. Anyway, either way, he just immediately blurted out, I still don't like the name. Okay. Now I hadn't seen the post poll yet. Okay. I hadn't seen it. I'm like, okay, like that happens every once in a while, but less and less and less. Like that was for a 6 to 8 month period after they changed the name. Everywhere I went was I don't like that name. I mean, it was constant. I really don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. And I'm like, heard, chef, like got you, heard, heard. I got you, right? So yesterday when that happened, it's been a long time since that happened. I was like, that's weird. That like somebody actually brought that up because he's like, it's Redskins forever for me. It was one of those people like Redskins forever. I don't even want to hear it. Okay. Then I'm like, and he goes, I wish they would just change it back. And I just turned to this guy and I go, that's never happening. I'm like, so you have to get over that. I'm like, they may change this name down the road. And I really doubt it now considering what they've said, but like, it's not happening. That's not happening at all. Then I went to Home Depot to return something. Okay. Customer service aisle, guys there, and immediately looked at my sweatshirt and he goes, you know what? I'm into the name now. Oh. And I just looked at him and I went like, what is going on? How would that happen twice in the same day with complete strangers? And again, same thing. I don't know if this person knew who I was or not. I did have to give him my credit card. So it's possible he saw my name pop up. Like that's possible that happened because I had to do a return. But like same thing. And then he went on and on about, like he actually went because he liked it. He went on and on about Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn and AP. He did the whole spiel happen. And again, not complaining. I like when this happens. But I had two strangers in a 30-minute period bring up the name unsolicited to me, whether they know me or not, just because I was wearing a shirt. When I got home, I now found out why. Okay. This was now in the ether again because of a poll that the Washington Post did that all of a sudden, guess what? Now that they're winning and they have ownership that you're proud of and they got a quarterback that you like, that name feels great, doesn't it? Like all of a sudden, everybody's pumped. Now, the bad news is it's like if you went to Philadelphia and said, what do you think of the name Eagles? 99.9% of the people would say they love it. What a great name. Right. This is still just over 50% of people say they like the name. So it's kind of 50-50 still, but it's a big jump from where it was. And that's the point of the poll, like which was actually across the board. And this is winning cures everything. The headline actually was, people are just into the team because of what they're doing. And a subset part of that is they've warmed to the name in a way that they hadn't in the past.
Let me go for your first part of this conversation. And that's that people like to talk about the NFL more than any other sport if you're wearing the gear. So I will say like a part of that is they see it and they want to talk about the team because you know me, like I wear a Nats hat every single day. Nobody ever wants to talk about the Nats, but the second I wear any Commanders gear, I will also be having a conversation at your Dunkin' Donuts, at Metro, like on the Metro, on the elevator, whatever. People do want to talk about that. The other team that has started with that is the Caps. People have stopped and talked Caps with me before when I'm wearing a hat or a shirt or something. That's only in the last like 5 years, though.
That's never a casual conversation, though.
Correct.
Those are people that want to talk it. The Commanders thing for me runs the gamut. It can be very casual. Who's that quarterback? He's great. Or, oh, they're doing some good things over there, to the drilled down, where's the edge rusher conversation. Like it could run the gamut of people with the Commanders stuff.
It's funny you say that. There's always a sizing up when you have a Caps conversation. Like somebody will say, yeah, like Dylan Strome, he's playing really well. I'm like, oh yeah, great number one center they got from Chicago. Like you size it up real quick and it goes into detail.
Oh, anyways. Yeah. They're like, Mangiapane really showed up in the playoff.
You're right. Like, oh, yeah.
You're right. Actually.
You are not a casual. Like it usually ramps up real quick. So I will say it does depend. And I feel like when you wear any NFL stuff, people do if they want to talk sports, they're going to talk about that with you. So I will weigh in on that. On the Washington Post poll here, the fact though that you saw the jump, I think it was 34% was the I think it was May or April of last year, and then it jumped to 50 of May this year. just on the 1 year jump alone tells you how much winning does cure everything. Like the fact that is just a 1 year jump. And let's say the Commanders win 10 games again this year and sneak into the playoffs as a wild card and maybe win a playoff game again. That poll's going to jump again is what's going to happen here. So the fact that it jumped up that much in one season tells me everything I need to know that, all you have to do is keep winning and it's going to solve itself.
Listen, they win a Super Bowl with that name, it's never changing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you are forget Redskins, that's not happening again. Like, I'm sorry, guy. It's not. But actually, I actually think if they won a Super Bowl, there would be more potential openness to honoring that past a little differently because there'd be no threat of it ever really coming back. Because if you win a Super Bowl as the Commanders, there comes a security attached to that name. And I actually think it would, I don't know if they're thinking about this, it's just kind of occurred to me that there would be a little more open to, we can dabble in that a little bit. We know everybody likes that name. We know everybody likes the history, the colors, the look, and all that stuff. We're secure that we are who we are, and we can dabble in that a little bit more. I'm still waiting to see what happens over the next couple of years with their look. Obviously, it's out there that they're going to do something. I don't know what it is, and I don't know when, but they're going to do something, and I keep believing that it will be some kind of look back to the past a little bit, probably some modernization too, but because the ownership group, their heartstrings are attached to the whole thing too. They've made it very, very clear that it's not going to be the Redskins again, but they like the look too. They know it harkens these old feelings. So I'm waiting to see. I don't know when any of that stuff is going to happen, whether it's this year, next year, whenever. I'm just telling you what I heard back in the spring, which was there were some discussions about that type of stuff and that it's possible that it'll come down. There's been a lot of reporting about it may happen, and they haven't told me anything about it. So I don't know when, if, or whatever, or what it would be. It might not have anything to do with the past. I don't know. So we'll see. But that would open the door for that. Still, in the end, this is proof positive. Winning cures literally everything. Because here's what the Washington Post poll stated about it. According to the Post Shar School poll, 61% of DC area sports fans are fans of the Commanders. That's up from 45% of area sports fans a year ago. That is clearly just winning. That's all that is about. Or Jaden Daniels, superstar quarterback, or maybe a little bit, the cloud is lifted from what was going on with the organization, and they just feel openly better about it. But 12-5 winning 2 road playoff games will do that for you. Superstar quarterback will do that for you too. It says among all DC area residents, 53% say they are Commanders fans, 45% say they do not root for the team. That's DC in a nutshell. In general, that a lot of people still, especially in the city, aren't from here, right? And so that's always kind of been that way. That number will continue to go up because if the team keeps winning, because there's nothing like bandwagoners, especially people that come here to move here, to live here. All of a sudden, they're kind of part of a revival. I think that happened with the Caps. I think this is why there's a lot of Caps fans all over the place now. They came into the city. They rode a wave with Ovechkin. They won a Stanley Cup. They now moved out of the city. They're back wherever they were. And everywhere you go, you see Caps fans all over the place, rocking the red and all these things. I think the same thing's going to happen with the Commanders again all over the country. They also happen to be the darling. This thing goes on to say this. In 2023, 31% of DC area residents said they were Commanders fans or that the Commanders were their favorite local team. That's now up to 61%. So that's a precipitous jump. That's about winning, changing the brand of the franchise. Then they went to the part about the name. What's more, half of all DC area adults now like or love the team's name, which was changed in 2022 and became a hot button issue for many fans who either clamored for a return to the franchise's previous name, Redskins, or sought an alternative. In 2024, only 34% liked or loved the name. So more than half is the number here. So of the name, 34% April 2024, 1 year later, 50%. 1 year later. It's still just 50%. 50-50 of people who like the team, like the name, but it's a precipitous leap from where it was.
Right.
And it will go way up if they continue to do what they're doing and win a Super Bowl eventually, they'll love the name if that's what it is, because it will be attached to championship medal after that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it too is also visualizations. What did you think of before last season when you thought of Commanders? Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz, your boy Ron on the sidelines.
Yes.
It was
Dan
a lot
Snyder.
of Dan Snyder. It was a lot of bad visuals.
That's
now
right.
you can't think of the Commanders without thinking of Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Dan Quinn with the backwards hat, Josh Harris at that RFK press conference.
Hail Mary.
Yes, the Hail
Mary. Breaking a playoff win, beating a number 1 seed on the road. Yes.
Right. They buried the 2-year, initial build of Commanders with 1 year of success, essentially. And here we are. I'm like, am I surprised it's made that big of a jump in 1 year? No, honestly, because of just how successful they were in that 1 year. But all they need to do is do this for probably 2 to 3 more years, and that poll is going to go up to, 60, 70, 80%? No one's really going to care because you're going to visualize Commanders with this kind of success story that's happening.
We're in the midst of the franchise's revival. Yeah. Now, nothing's certain. Nothing's promised. They have to go out and earn it. It's an interesting jump from where they were to where they are in a year. They're the darlings of the league. They're the most profiled team in the league. They've got a crazy schedule to show for it. They're being profiled over and over and over. Hard Knocks is showing. I know they're part of 1 of 4, but Hard Knocks is showing up here. We have quotes from the Fox executive who picks the games as much as they can, saying we want to be part of the Jaden Daniels story. Everybody does. So if they can, it's an interesting year because of this. And I think it's actually a big question to start asking today. Now that Hard Knocks is out, now this is the first time we've spoken to all of them. Hard Knocks is out. The schedule's actually out. So you see how many night games, overseas game, how many profiled standalone games, Christmas Day, how they're profiled. It is worth asking the question, are you guys ready for this? Because, there are teams like, it feels like maybe a little bit like the Bills did maybe when they got Josh Allen. All of a sudden, once he turned the corner, it shifted for them. They went from being really bad, like similar timelines, really bad from their Super Bowl era when they didn't win one, but they were in it a lot with Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, Marv Levy, their coach, Bruce Smith, all those great teams that got there but never won. They were dreck for years, lived through the Brady years, had a bazillion bad quarterbacks. All of those years were called dysfunctional, all of these things. They got Josh Allen, took a little bit longer than Jaden Daniels, obviously, here, but it turned a corner when Allen turned out to be it, right? And it became obvious he was it. Well, they've been able to sustain it. The Chiefs turned the corner with Pat Mahomes. They've been able to sustain it. What Washington needs to prove this year is they can sustain the success because it happened really fast. And there are lots of flash in the pan type teams. I don't think this is one of them. I think Daniels makes them extremely competitive for whatever period of time that he is here with health. And it looks like the infrastructure, specifically in and around the offense, is built to be better than it was. And potentially at times, if he's going to continue to grow as a player, be dominant. But they have to prove that they're able to do it. And the hype, hope, and all of the profile that's landed on them overnight is something that has to be dealt with. And so that's going to be an interesting thing to watch this year, because if they can get through this year with double-digit wins, back in the playoffs, whatever the number is, potentially look like a team that could make a run again, then I'll feel pretty convinced we are in the resurgence of a new golden era with the team, and it's not a one-year one-off. I don't think that it is. I believe that we are at the start of this, but this is the year where they had no expectations last year. They got real earned expectations on this team, and that is a new dynamic that they have to handle this year.
I think the team you didn't mention that I think it's a perfect parallel for them was last year, and that was Detroit. Like, I remember I was one of the people saying, is Detroit going to fold under the bright lights? Because they were getting all those prime time games. They didn't. No, and I commend them. I thought they were going to fold because I didn't
They
believe
ended
in
up
Goff.
falling apart because of injuries and no other reason. And that is unfortunate. And that can happen to you. Like, I knew the Commanders were going to get them in the playoffs because their defense was too you can't be missing 6 starters and think you're going anywhere. And if it wasn't us, it was going to be Philly. They were going to knock them out next. Like, there was no chance that Detroit would have gotten to Philly and stopped them. They wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah. So, like, I kind of compared to Detroit where, they beat the Chiefs on that opening game. I guess it would be 3 seasons ago, but you know what I mean? 2 seasons ago that they actually played, and they weren't going to take anyone by surprise the following year, which was last season. So I kind of compare them to Detroit where, yeah, everyone has seen it now. You're not going to take them by surprise. Everyone has seen this quarterback now and see some of the weapons, and you could hope to stop him, but the film is out there now. Can they survive that and survive it under a microscope? Because they have all of these primetime games. That's exactly kind of what I'm anticipating. Can they, sink or swim like Detroit did last year?
Listen, I am fully in belief that we have one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Because of that, I think we're in the midst of what is going to be a run here. How far it goes on any given year probably will have a lot to do with who you play, when you play them, injuries when they pop up. But this is a test of the internal structure that's been rebuilt here. The thing that I really like about it is Dan Quinn did go to a Super Bowl in his second year in a place that hadn't been to the Super Bowl very often, Atlanta, and he had sustained success. Adam Peters did it in New England in their front office where they were a dynasty, did it in Denver once they got Peyton Manning where they had a few-year run there, did it in San Francisco where once they built a team that could win, it started winning a lot, and it still has. Last year, just like the injuries is what really derailed them. And if you go and ask like some of the experts, they'll tell you that they're still a contender. I don't personally believe that. I think they're resetting, and I'm not sure I see it with them as much as I saw it a couple of years ago. But the Vegas and the rest of them think, like, don't discount them. They could be really good again. They've sustained success. We're at the point where Washington has to prove that this group can sustain success. My point is, I think they have the infrastructure to do it. A few years ago, let's just say this happened where they had a crazy one-off season with a really good young quarterback. The infrastructure of the organization would frighten me that they wouldn't crumble it up like of mice and men and ruin it. In this case, I feel like we're set up to handle the sustained success, but they have to go do it. They have to go do it, and that hasn't happened yet. They need to stack seasons like this, the way Buffalo has, Kansas City has, Baltimore has, the Niners have in general until last year. They need to show that they're a team that can do that. I believe they will, but until they do it, they haven't yet, so we have to see.
Yeah, the part 2 of that is the one that I always like to say to you is where when you don't stack them to a Super Bowl or a championship game, don't lose your mind so much that you ruin the integrity of what your team is made out of. I've said it to you for the last 4 or 5 years between the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills, and I guess I'll throw the Bengals in there too. My joke with all of them has been, you're all going to beat each other. Like, don't lose your mind.
That's right.
And fire a bunch of people because Pat Mahomes beat you at Arrowhead. And it's always very close games for most of these games when they all play each other. That's going to be the other side of this too that I think is, integral here is hopefully, and it doesn't sound like Josh Harris is this type of guy, but you hope that like a, 3rd playoff loss in a row 2 years from now, hopefully heads don't roll off of that the successes continue to be built upon.
The next step is because this year, again, this is very much a rental team again.
Yeah, right.
Very
exactly.
much is, right? Very much is at some point, but you need to commit to people that are worth committing to. They were resetting the roster. That stuff needs to start happening where you find your guys who are your pillar people. Terry is probably going to be extended. Jaden obviously is their quarterback. They've already given Cosme money. What's next? Something soon, right? Where you start to go, okay, these are our guys. We're not going to piecemeal this every single year. And eventually you'll start having your group that you hopefully win with. And that's where the structure is of, this is how we play. This is what our culture is. It's in the locker room. And we'll see. So we'll do that. One other quick story before I take a break that I wanted to get to was Terry Bradshaw's interview on a radio station in Arkansas. Okay. It's Let me hold. I gotta get the name of the radio station. This was great. 103.7 The Buzz in Arkansas.
Right.
103
Loyal listener.
Buzz. I kind of want a 103.7 The Buzz t-shirt now. They had him on and they asked him about Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh. And his answer was this: that's a joke. What are you going to do? Bring him in for 1 year? Are you kidding me? That guy needs to stay in California, go somewhere and chew on bark and whisper to the gods.
Wow. Full old man.
Yeah.
Full old man.
Full old man. Now, granted, those who listen to this show go, yeah, you've done that joke 500 times, old man.
Right.
Like, what is it? Sentient beings. You've made fun of every girlfriend he's had. All of his interesting takes, through the years,
eating mud,
which have expanded now that he's become a guest on a place like Rogan, where you could be on for an hour and not get the pushback from the sports fans and the ESPN people who go, whoa, guy, this isn't the conspiracy theorist hour. I was talking about, like, we wanted NFL news here. We're not into that. He can go and do that there. I don't think Bradshaw's wrong. Here we are. I'm about to go watch the Commanders practice. Steelers are practicing up there. He's not there. He supposedly is the quarterback of the team. At some point, you got to want to play football again. I'm done with this idea that you could go to a new team and not show up for anything until training camp rolls around and everything's just going to be fine. Not when Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow are in your division. If I'm the Steelers, the deadline's now. I'm out. Like, honestly, I'm out. You either want to be here or you do not want to be here. You're 41 years old. You're a bridge quarterback anyway. And frankly, really from the last couple of years in Green Bay, I didn't see an MVP caliber player anyway any longer. So I'm not even really sure why they are so taken hostage by this idea, because they've made it this way for months now. The deadline is now. You're either doing this now and you're showing up now, or, you be you and live your life, but it's not going to be with us. I'm shocked that Pittsburgh's let this go on this long.
I'm not, because look at their quarterback options. He's the only option they've got left.
Well, this is what they did to themselves. They didn't draft one. They didn't go get a different one. Right. They didn't make a trade. They've put themselves in this corner. I'm telling you, the issue with that team is their front office, not the coach. Their front office is making bad decisions and have been for a few years now.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think Rodgers could come in there in week 2 of the preseason and still be the starter because of just who's there on their depth chart.
100%.
So, I mean, that's where I've landed here, too, is he can take his time. I'll stand by what I said, too. I think he doesn't want to be a part of the offseason because he's going to be out, at Egypt again and on a darkness retreat. And the Steelers don't want to answer those questions. And they're going, until you're done with all that, then you sign with us.
All right. So the good times are rolling here in DC with the Commanders. The bad times are rolling with the Nats, and they were lambasted yesterday. I'm going to do that next. Bradshaw the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right. Welcome back. Ken Rosenthal, who writes for The Athletic, longtime terrific insider, Major League Baseball, just trashed the Nationals yesterday. Completely, utterly trashed them top to bottom. I think his opening line was something like, the also-rans are Pittsburgh, the White Sox, etc. We now need to put the Nationals in this group. They, one, don't spend anymore. They stopped doing that recently. They haven't gone out and gotten anybody. And two, and probably more troubling than anything, they're not developing players. And he described finding Juan Soto years ago as almost like a unicorn one-off for them, because everything they've done since internationally has not even come, and granted, Soto might be the best player in the game, but hasn't come anywhere close to it. And they're a team that famously won't re-sign their guys, with an exception here or there, aren't spending any money right now, aren't developing anybody. And it's timing up where the players that they got for Soto, the ones that have worked out, are coming up in the not too distant future on contracts, which, well, let's go back to what we just said. They don't re-sign their own guys. They're not developing anybody. Are they going to pay them? Are they going to trade them? If they trade them, who are they replacing these people with? He's painting a picture of, I don't know what you guys are. And you know what? Here, I agree. I feel the same way. I don't know what they are. And they do have a few very good, promising young players. But I've been saying this to you for like a year now. After those trades with Scherzer, Turner, Soto, I looked at it and I went, I don't see it. Like, I don't see the path. I get it. This James Wood guy looks like he could be terrific. As it turns out, Mackenzie Gore is very good. Like, CJ Abrams is above average. Like, right? Ruiz has been a flop, unfortunately, for them. But I don't see the makings of a World Series championship caliber team. And then Ken Rosenthal, points out all of these reasons why they won't get there if they don't change their ways. And it's hard not to read that and go, where's he wrong? Show me the place where he's wrong about them.
No, I've been waiting for this piece for a year, 2 years, honestly. 2 years ago probably would have been a little harsh. But for about a year, I've been waiting for this hit piece, mainly because I've been banging my head on the table of where is everybody on the learners becoming cheapskates all of a sudden. I think the most troubling thing was his stat was they're the third worst team in baseball since 2021. Only the Pirates and the Rockies are worse. And the Rockies have won 8 games this year or 9 games this year. They're absolutely terrible, on the verge of the worst season of all time. That the Nats, who used to spend and be this premier franchise, have just decided they're not going to be that anymore. And he doesn't really have an explanation for that, but does go on to blame the learners. Does blame Rizzo quite a bit here too. Rizzo is usually pretty protected in MLB circles. He crushes Rizzo on how he basically hasn't drafted or developed in over a decade at this point with these players. And he was totally right to do this. I was waiting for this to happen. Washington, D.C. is a top 10 market. We've already lost 2 baseball teams here over the last 100 years. And all of a sudden, I'm not saying they're on the verge of losing the team, but there's a crappy ownership situation where they are not trying to win. And that's a recipe for disaster if they're not trying to win again.
There's a lot here. Like there's a lot here. Like, okay, you're not going to be a team that spends a lot. Okay. Well, then your draft development group needs to be better than most.
Be the Rays.
Right? They don't have that going for them. In fact, that's been perceived as lackluster for a very long time. I'll never forget this. And I think if we were in a different media market, it would have been treated differently. But I'll never forget Rizzo showing up with his ring to a press conference after they made what was extremely controversial trades of generational type players and going, trust me, look what I got right here. I did this, basically. You need to trust I'm going to do it again. And I went, okay, go ahead, buddy. We're a few years later now, and you are no closer to putting another one of those rings on than you were a few years ago. Like, this is not even remotely close to being competitive. And you're in a division with 2 teams specifically that have unlimited budget, will do whatever they have to do to try to compete with one another. We're not in an arms race with them. Good luck beating. Fine. You don't want to be in an arms race? Fine. Be the Rays and draft and develop people. Yes. Well, you're not doing that either. And then he did some advanced metrics that I'm not going to go into. Rosenthal did, where he was like, they're not even coming close to developing even like low bar good players. So it reads as they don't have a path to putting together a championship caliber franchise again, unless they're going to start paying for players. And this ownership group has been completely, utterly against doing that. So I don't know where we sit with this other than hope you like going to games and spending a nice day at the park, because this team, enjoy those James Wood at bats, because this team is not set up to, nor trying to get back to the place that it was before.
The eye-opening one too was Mackenzie Gore is now at the same point in his contract when Juan Soto was traded. So all of a sudden, is Mike Rizzo going to go, you want Mackenzie Gore for 3 postseason runs? Because we can do that for you. Because now it's not going to shock me, because Mackenzie Gore leads the league in strikeouts. Like, he is one of the best pitchers right now, young pitchers in the game. You know, there are people talking about Pittsburgh. Do they start exploring trading Paul Skeens as soon as this year or next year? Because people are going to call them. All of a sudden, the Nationals have become the Pirates, which is my absolute nightmare. I never want to be that franchise. I never want to be the team that is always trading away their players. They have become that, and that's just one of the worst fears that's ever been realized. Here's the other thing that happened too. We didn't really talk about this on the air because there wasn't really a reason to, but there was a piece that came out in the Washington Post that a couple of their high-ranking marketing people were fired or let go. They're still, the verbiage isn't there, but they've left. And our guys over at TalkNats basically said, yeah, if things weren't going to improve, heads were going to roll, essentially was the quote. And my thought process was, what do you want your marketing people to do when you're not trying to win? Like, winning solves everything. We just had a conversation last segment about how the Redskins changed the name to Commanders. People didn't like the name. And within a year, we're up to 50% of people liking it because they won last year. And you're telling me you're a baseball team and you're trying to market everything else but winning? Good luck with that, man. Like, good luck with that strategy because I know what sells in this town and it's always going to be winning and it's going to be stars.
Yeah, I didn't see the path a couple years ago. You're more optimistic about them than I am, but I was just watching. I was watching this and I'm like, I don't see it. And if you're going to make trades like this, you've got to be right. Like you've got to be right. They're not being proven right here. And the bigger concern is they're not going to pay the ones that did work out for them. And that's scary. Or James Wood will be so good that they have to pay him, but him only. And then he's just a player on a team. He's the calling card, but he's not going to be on a team that can actually win, which I think was starting to become the fear of if they gave Soto the money, he'd be the calling card for them. And I don't know that James Wood will ever be as good as Juan Soto, but maybe he'll be good enough to be that person. But there's no reason to believe they're going to pay him either. And I know we're a long way away from that. So, in the end, I'll just go back to when I read it, I went, show me where he's wrong, Ken Rosenthal, about this, because I don't think he is. I think he has surmised this perfectly. And I like when things like this happen, when a voice that matters says it instead of us, hitting them over the head all day long with what are you doing? Because there's no way that isn't being read in that building today. And they're going, and if they're being honest with themselves, that surmises exactly what's wrong with this team. And you better start thinking about doing things differently. Otherwise, people will get the general malaise. I said this a couple of years ago. What market are we in? Are we a top 5 market here or are we not? Because we're acting like we're not. Like, so if that's what it is, especially in our division, we're never going to compete with them ever.
Well, and like the other side of all of this as well is my optimism was mainly because of how they acted when that competitive window opened. They signed Jason Worth to $128 million. They signed Max Scherzer to a $200 million plus deal. They extended Ryan Zimmerman multiple times. They extended Steven Strasburg multiple times. My thought process was, okay, when the competitive window opens, they'll open the wallet up and we'll see what happens. Well, last season, they didn't do that. Patrick Corbin came off the books and they barely spent his contract back into the roster. What should have happened was spend that much money and then some if you actually wanted to compete. They barely got it. Rosenthal goes on to say, too, by the way, they're bottom 5 in payroll. So they're not spending at all just to fill out even the roster. That's a troubling trend here. And, the other side of this, too, that Rosenthal really points out that should make you feel troubled as a Nationals fan is the 3 most important pieces, James Wood, Mackenzie Gore, and Dylan Cruz. Cruz came along before he got hurt last week, which was unfortunate. But those 3 really important pieces, guess who they're all represented by? Scott Boras. So you're going to have to play this game all over again if you don't want to step up and pay these guys because he likes to take his guys to market now.
And they clearly don't want to deal with it anymore.
Correct. Yeah. And that was the unfortunate part. Ted Lerner, I don't think he liked to deal with Boras, but he did deal with them at times. And so that's the other troubling part here. The other one that he did mention was CJ Abrams is with Rock Nation. So that is a different situation. But he, of course, even goes on to say the Nationals didn't know how much they wanted to commit to him by the end of last year with everything that happened with him. So
that one I'll hear them out on.
Me too.
That's the one I'll hear them out on because he acted very unprofessionally. And, at that point, do you want to give somebody some 8-year bazillion-dollar deal to a guy you don't totally trust? That's the one where I'll hear you out, learners, on that one. Wait, wait. See what happens this year with him.
Agree. But the other 3 huge pieces, if you don't want to play this game, we already know what's going to happen. And this is what sucks now. The perpetual cycle of, oh, well, there's a good player now. Why should I buy the jersey or care about him when I know he's going to be traded or not signed here in the end anyways?
Yep. All right, let me take a quick break. Brad watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. We'll just spend a couple minutes on the other things that are going on in sports, which it is looking very likely that the Panthers and Oilers are going to have a Stanley Cup rematch, which I'm actually down for. And I think I said this to you earlier, like if the Oilers had a premier goaltender, I think they'd be unbeatable right now. They don't, which I think is what would make this interesting. It felt very gentleman sweep with the Hurricanes winning the other night, but this is back in Raleigh now. So maybe things could get a little weird. Maybe they get to a game 6. We'll see. We'll see. The Oilers thing feels over to me. I cannot see Dallas winning 3 in a row. So I think we're about to have a rematch of the Stanley Cup final. I know some people don't like that. I'm down for it. People forget that was an incredible series. They went to overtime in game 7. Like I'm psyched for that if it does happen again.
Yeah, I think everybody's posting the screenshot of McDavid losing. I think it was game 2. It's the only game they've lost to Dallas. McDavid has this scowl on his face, and everybody is pinpointing that moment of like, oh crap, like this guy's about to carry us into the Stanley Cup final. And it looks like that's about to happen. With Florida, they won the first 2 games in Raleigh. I'm not really putting anything into home ice advantage. Wouldn't be shocked if Carolina pushed it to 6 games, but Florida's going to win this series. Their makeup is just too good for a championship type team. I'll stick with what I said. Florida wins the cup, but I think it's going to be a good series if they do end up playing Edmonton again.
I don't know. Like, McDavid, it reminds me of Ovechkin. He's just too good not to have his name on the Stanley Cup. So eventually it's going to happen, and it feels like it could happen this year. So we'll just have to see. Then in the NBA, Indiana's on the cusp after last night. We're going to have to see what happened with Karl Anthony Towns. That was an ugly looking little knee injury that happened at the end of the game last night. So hopefully he's okay. But Indiana feels like they're streaking towards the finals. I will say this I love this Indiana Knicks series because it's been the best series of the NBA playoffs. I don't think either one of them are beating Oklahoma City. Like I don't. I think this is a done deal that once Oklahoma City finishes off Minnesota, and I think what really stands out to me is they've totally shut Ant down. If they're shutting him down, who on either one of those other teams is even of that level? They're not. So the defense that the Thunder can play with, I do not see it. Now, I will say this for Indiana, and I do appreciate this. They are dirty. Have you watched them play?
Yeah.
They are a dirty, dirty team, and they get away with a ton of it. Like, watch the replays of almost every play where they're yanking on somebody's shirt. They'll hit people in the face. They're like locking arms with people, and they're getting away with all of it. Siakam, man, he gets away with so much crap, but I appreciate it. They're playing the game the way it used to be played, which is you got to deal with it. We're going to get in your face. We're not going to back down. But when they get to Oklahoma City, who I assume is going to finish this out tonight because they're at home, I don't think either one of them can beat them. I don't think they've got the scoring I don't think the Knicks have the scoring to do it. And I'm not sure that Indiana would have to be in a really up-tempo game to win. And Dort's going to lock somebody down. He's not going to score. So I think the Thunder are going to race to a championship very soon.
OKC has the best player left in the playoffs, and they have the best roster left in the playoffs. Yeah. That's how it kind of boils down to me. And the fact that, as you said, they have shut down Anthony Edwards tells me whoever they play in the finals, they're going to have no problem shutting down whoever that is on the other side.
The other teams are good teams, very, very good teams. I think the Knicks are actually deeper than people give them credit for. They're good teams. They don't have a scorer like that. And so OKC, they're shutting down that level of player. What's going to happen when they take on guys who cannot score at will like that? Right. I don't see a path to anybody beating them. All right, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. Bram and Callow, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.